Welcome to APLS Group's Huddle Up Overtime, inspiring professional conversations. Improve your personal and professional life in as little as 18 minutes. Here we cover the hottest topics with the hottest industry-leading experts for dynamic Q&As. This Vlogcast is what your career has been missing. Want even more insight? Join us every first and third Wednesday at our next free Huddle Up event on Zoom. Now it's time to get inspired.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to APLS Group's Huddle Up Overtime Vlogcast. If you're watching, thank you for joining us. I'm Paige Olunik, Vice President of Business Development at APLS Group. Our Huddle Up Overtime Vlogcast is meant to be an extension of our live virtual Huddle Up events. If you don't already know, the Huddle Up community is a free public forum for inspiring professional conversations. Every first and third Wednesday, we connect on Zoom and hear from industry-leading guest speakers on topics to help us grow as people and professionals. We encourage you to join us. This new Overtime Vlogcast series is meant to keep the conversation going. Each episode, you'll hear from past and upcoming Huddle Up guest speakers for 18-minute Q&A sessions on the hottest business topics. To kickstart Overtime episode number 1, we're welcoming APLS Group President and CEO, Nancy Appleman-Vassell. Today, we're diving into the backstory of Huddle Up, our purpose at APLS Group, and some 2022 professional development trends that can help you accelerate your personal and professional growth. All right, let's get to it. So Nancy, welcome.
Thank you, Paige. I'm delighted to be here with you today.
So this is our very first inaugural kickoff to our Huddle Up Overtime, which is really a way for us to take the Huddle Up that you created over a year ago and expand on what we are already doing. Our Huddle Ups are offered twice a month on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And sometimes people can't always come at that particular time. So what we're doing is we're asking some of our Huddle Up guests to come and let us interview them, and they can take a little deeper dive with us into the topics that they're presenting at the Huddle Up. So I'm really excited to have you on the very first Huddle Up Overtime, so you can talk about APLS Group and Huddle Up and get us started.
Terrific, Paige. I'm excited to do it.
So Nancy, tell us a little about APLS Group and how you founded it in 2000.
So July 1st, 2000 celebrated every single year, and it actually came about as a result of being laid off twice in my professional career, once in the corporate world, once in the nonprofit world. And I thought, don't really want to have a trifecta. So let me think about what I want to do. So I used the services of Drake B. Morin, which is now Lee Hecht Harrison. And they helped me figure out that I could be an entrepreneur. But I have to tell you, it was the biggest risk I ever took. I was a every 2-week paycheck person. And to go from that to not sure when you're going to get one, but I haven't had any regrets for it's 21 and a half years already. It's hard to believe.
Wow, how time flies. And, sometimes it's great to take those risks and stick your neck out there and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So, you've been in the area of learning and development because APLS Group is a learning and development organization. Mm-hmm. So what have you noticed that's happened in L&D over the last 20 some years?
So I would say to you that in the beginning, and of course, I've been in L&D even before the time that I've been in business for myself. But what I've watched is a slow trajectory going from, hey, we got to hire that person because they got the best technical skills in the world, to, hey, maybe we don't want to hire that person because their people skills aren't so good. And of course, my bias is the fact that people don't use the term people skills, but what they use soft skills, which really makes me go crazy. And as you know, working with me, when somebody says, do you do soft skills? What do we say? No, we don't. We do necessary skills to help complement the technical skills so that you can have the best performance that there is.
Absolutely. I personally like to say we revisit the things we learned in kindergarten and we forgot how to play nice with people. So, but yes, you're right. You do put a little more professional spin on it. So, but here we are after being in a pandemic. We're still in the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So how has that really impacted the learning and development world and trying to continue to upskill people and to keep them interested in being at work with all the other challenges that they have?
Yeah, it really, I mean, our small boutique firm had the impact as well. Everybody pulled. It's like that plug, that you take out of the sink, and all the water goes sweeping down inside. And I think we all experienced that. And I think that what we had to do is very similar to what other organizations had to do, which was completely shift our mindset about what's the best way to provide any kind of learning and development. And of course, the transition to virtual was steep for a lot of us, including me.
Right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And I know from my own experience with working with APLS and being a facilitator when I'm not doing business development, that, really what I see with APLS that differentiates us is our ability to create that experiential learning. And we were so used to doing that in a face-to-face environment. And so we really didn't want to lose that capability by going virtual. So that has been a little tricky. And I think we were all anxious about that magic that we can create and losing it. But as it's turned out, we haven't.
We've been very fortunate, very blessed. I'm always, every morning when I wake up and I'm able to put my feet on the ground and I'm breathing, I say, this is going to be a great day. And what I realize is that, to the point that you made about our magic, the experiential nature, is that we were able to pretty easily put it into, and of course our preferred method is Zoom, just like we're on today. And so we were able to utilize that technology to be able to give people the experience. And what makes it very challenging, of course, is you and I are looking at each other, but in a lot of circumstances, people are uncomfortable being on the screen. And so that makes it even harder, when we talk about challenges, like how do you hear the person? What are they really feeling and experiencing when all you have is what is their voice? Makes it challenging.
Because you're right. We're so used to people reading. Everybody,
Yes.
everyone does it every day, and you read so many of their nonverbals. And when you don't have that capability, you really do have to increase and heighten your awareness around what you hear. But so I think that so Nancy, you made some comment about how it's hard to get people to turn their cameras on and to participate when you're doing virtual training. And I really think that puts the onus on us as facilitators to be experienced in creating that safe space and encouraging them to participate and to want to participate. Tell me about how, because I've seen you in action and I know what you can do. So tell me if you could describe that recipe. What is it that goes through your mind when you're working with a group and you're really wanting them to fully engage?
So, thank you for asking that question, because there's a story in my head, right? And the story in my head is about this one group that it was a full day training. Not one person was on the camera. And it was a program about leadership and about your leadership roles and things that you need to do. And all people were doing is, a couple people would unmute and talk, but most of them would just be in the chat box. And I said to Lauren, who was our producer, Lauren, who's our operations manager when she's not producing for us at APLS Group, I was like, I'm dying here. I'm dying here. Like my goal is to get somebody to get on camera. And we got people on camera, but it took 4 hours. 4 hours of and when you say secret sauce, it would be that encouraging, nurturing, saying, hey, I don't care if you've got rollers in your hair. I don't care if you don't have makeup on. I don't care if you're wearing a t-shirt. I just want to see your face, because our face tells us the whole story, right? The rest of the story, our body language. So I started using the stuff about, I'm only getting 7% of the experience here. And in some cases I'm getting 45%, but I sure would like 100%. And so people started to do that as towards the end of the day, but it was brutal. It was brutal. And I teach some classes where there's no camera. They don't see me. I don't see them. At least in that situation, they at least got to see my animated self. sometimes I'm teaching for 2 days and they don't see me and I don't see them, and it's grueling, absolutely positively grueling. And I think it impacts the experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I know in those situations when that has happened and you've had to facilitate in that environment, it's been the client's choice and not your choice,
Yes,
because
right.
that's certainly not the APLS way. Yeah,
It is
right.
definitely not. It's definitely not. And I think that, you're always trying to find that silver lining, that, how do you make lemonade out of lemons? And, this pandemic has just been brutal for all of us in so many different levels, and all the stuff that's coming out about mental health and people being burnt out and the great resignation and all this stuff that's going on. But I think the silver lining has been this opportunity that our global clients, we're able to all be together, which is not necessarily what was the case. It was like you were in a particular area, like we flew over to England or we flew over to Malaysia or wherever that we went. But here you can be with 20 people in a community from all over the world. So the richness of that is something that I see as a silver lining of what's happened over. There's not a whole lot of other silver linings, of course, because our worlds have been turned upside down. But I think we, as an organization, learned that we could, I don't like to use the word pivot, that we could change, that we were agile enough to be able to change to it and also understand what was our preference. So like, Zoom is my preference. It's easy and people can get it quickly. And it's about, what's our sweet spot? I think that has allowed us to be even more specific about what do we focus on, which is all about community and all about connection and all about people understanding themselves, to be able to understand the impact of their behavior on their ability to be able to influence in the workplace and outside of the workplace as well.
Absolutely. And there's so many things in what you just said that are so very important and key to who we are as APLS group. And I think one of the things that you said was trying to encourage people about how they're able to influence and how they're able to communicate and participate. Because, we all know that there is training that anyone can do and you've checked the box and you've walked away. But our goal here at APLS is really to encourage that behavior change, to make this part of the new normal. And as we all know from our change management program that we have, change is really the only constant that we have. So being able to have the opportunity to upskill people around exercises and putting these skills into practice and getting feedback on them, which is what we try to do in our training.
Yeah. I think that whereas some companies, some independent contractors that do this type of work really got frozen when the pandemic happened, because it was like, I only know how to be in the classroom. I only know how to look somebody in the eye and stand up next to them and be able to say, so what do you think about that? And I think that that's been really challenging for people. And I think for us, it's the experience. We're just using a different venue, a different technology, a different format to make that happen. But it still is about people getting those ahas that allow them to understand their impact. And I think that, I know we're going to talk about this and I'll just lead right into it. But one of the things that we did as an organization that I'm extremely proud of is that we created this concept called Huddle Up on April 8th of 2020. And that was less than a month after, quote unquote, we learned that we were in a pandemic, which I thought was just a situation that was going to, I think a lot of us thought it wasn't going to last a long time. And the Huddle Up was really, we brainstormed, and you were part of that brainstorm. As a leadership team, we brainstormed, how can we take care of our community? How can we take care of our clients, our coworkers, and our customers, and even our own team as we're navigating through this uncharted water? That was like it. The first 9 weeks were like, where are we? What are we doing? What do you mean I can't go out? And so we just created it as a place to be. And we called it a Huddle Up. And, my reference, of course, to Huddle Up has to do a lot with football, American football, which, my son is now a coach at college, but he played at North Carolina State University as a third string center. And they always did the Huddle Up before they would do the play. And so what the concept was really, how can we huddle up and just be together? And the notion was 36 minutes. And the reason for that was twofold. One is I had been on umpteen million webinars. And as soon as you get to the 37th minute, which you and I were on one together and we were texting each other as it was going on, I was like, oh my God, they're selling. And for the next 22 minutes, they were selling. And I said, oh no, we're not doing that. That's not what the purpose is. The purpose is just to be together. And the significance of 36 is that I happen to be Jewish, and the number 18 means chai, which is CHAI, which means life. And we said, well, hey, let's give double life. Let's give people and do it in the middle of the week so that as we start to transition for that during that quote unquote hump day, we can have that opportunity to just be together. And that's how it started. And that was the intention. And of course, with a lot of things that, working with me, sometimes I have an idea and then I'm like, oh yeah, we do have to have it's going to do, we have to have a process in place. You're right. And so it morphed into, it was weekly. Then it was 3 times a month. Then it was bringing in guest speakers. Then it was, it just morphed. Who knew that we would still be doing it? And by the way, Paige, it's almost 2 years.
Wow.
It'll be 2 years in April. And so, I think we have refined it. I think that it's still a place to be. I think that we do quarterly temperature checks to see where people are at. We also have created as a forum for people to share something that they're working on, that they want an unbiased audience to be part of. It's absolutely free and there's no selling. I pride myself. I know the team has heard it umpteen times. We could create it into this mega something or other, but it's really just for people to be able to feel comfortable and safe, because that's what we talked about earlier. Like, how do you be safe? How can we create an environment that's safe for people to learn? Well, we have one guy, Dr. Alexander Sorkin, who has been to 63 out of the 64 sessions. He has come to them every single time. And he told me that at first he was in Moscow and he was not trapped necessarily because he was with his family, but he couldn't come back to the US. He couldn't come back to New York. And he said that he really looked forward to this Wednesday 36 minutes where he could be with people from all over the world and just be able to talk about a topic. And that's what its purpose is. Now, this that we're doing right here is an extension of wanting to make it broader, allow people that can't make it. Because guess what? One of our participants that comes pretty regularly, she was like, I can't come for the next 4 weeks. I'm on a project. She said, how could they schedule that project when we're supposed to be at the Huddle Up? So it's that kind of sense to it. And so this thing that we're doing here, which I know you'll talk about a little bit more, is really as a way in which, let's say you can't make it. You could go to this and be able to hear it. We feel that all of this, and this is a term that we've heard a lot in the latter part of 2021, and we're going to hear more of in 2022, and we're using it. It's all part of the learning journey. We're all on a different pathway to get to whatever the end outcomes are that we want to get to. And so this is another place for you to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I know, before I get into talking further about the vlog that we'll be starting, I know that you always start the Huddle Up talking about what we discussed at the previous Huddle Up, what skills people may have put into practice between them, and then you make reference to your father. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, everyone knows my father's been gone since 2008. I miss him almost every single day. He really had a profound impact on me. And he was a numbers guy. And so we would talk once a week at 2:00 on a Saturday after he had gone to temple and he'd had his drink and said l'chaim to life. He'd talk to my brother and then he would call me and he'd say to me, "So, sweetheart, what have you been doing for the last 168 hours?" And I would be, "Oh, Daddy, that's so cute. That's so funny, you know?" And then it made me think, because of course, 24 times 7 is 168. And I would say, wow, what am I doing with my time? How am I utilizing it? So how we integrated it into Huddle Up is based on the number of weeks that are separated from when we've been together. It's either 168 or 332 or 500, and so forth. And so it just really, I think, gets us to, and I know you use this term a lot, intentional, an intentional moment. And so it's really about being reflective. And I know there's all sorts of stuff, especially at the beginning of the new year, people talking about being intentional and really, I saw something actually that I really liked, which was start with an empty glass jar. And at the end of every week, write an accomplishment for that week and put it in the jar. And then at the end of the 52 weeks, you'll be able to see all the things that you were able to accomplish, because sometimes we don't see it because we're in it, right? So, yeah.
That's a good point. And oftentimes the things we do see are the things that are not the positive things, or the negative things. So you're right. We're not very good sometimes at reveling in our own accomplishments. So that's a great idea. I love that.
Good. Okay.
So to your point, yes, the Huddle Up was created by you and took a life of its own and has really grown and become a big part of who APLS is. And I think that what we wanted to do with creating a vlog is to extend what happens in that 36 minutes in the Huddle Up for people who can't be there on the Wednesdays at 1:00. And for those who want to take a little bit deeper dive into the topic that we were discussing with whoever the guest speaker was that particular week. So we will be asking our guest speakers to sit with us and be interviewed, just as I'm interviewing you, and recording it and then putting it out for people who would like to view that and learn more. We also have the ability for those who are not attending Huddle Up and would like to join our group. And the best way to do that is to go to our website, aplsgroup.com. And on our homepage, if you scroll down, there is some information about Huddle Up, and you can go to our webpage. You can sign up to join Huddle Up, and you can also sign up to be a guest speaker, because we are definitely looking for people who are interested in talking about topics that are they're passionate about or of interest to them. And our group is open to a lot of different discussions, not just focused on specifically learning and development, but anything that has to do with enhancing you as an individual or what you encounter throughout your life and through your work life as well. So Nancy, if someone was curious to know what they might encounter if they attended a Huddle Up, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys often talk about?
Absolutely. So as you indicated before, it's twice a month. We've had topics like burnout. We've had a topic on standing up as opposed to not saying anything, email elimination, resiliency. We've also talked about authenticity, motivation, other types of self-care, and also multi-generations all working together at the same time. And what's going to be happening next, Paige, I'm really excited about this. We're going to have things around productivity, around reputation, on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also overcoming those obstacles like getting out of the ditch.
Getting out of the ditch. Well, that sounds really exciting. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about this as you all bring out some more Huddle Ups.
That sounds great, Paige, and we look forward to it. It's open, it's free, and all people have to do is go to our website, and it's on the first page, and they can register.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, Nancy. I really appreciate spending time with you today.
It's been a lot of fun, Paige. I look forward to the next time.